I'm recording.
What happened? Are you seeing the screen?
No, try sharing your screen again.
Okay, I think I stopped when that recording announcement came up. Okay, share screen. Share screen. Okay, you see it now. Okay.
Yes.
Close the door. Nope, I won't. Close the door. No, I can't. 5 years ago, I was fighting with myself. I'm standing by my office door, and I don't have the courage to close it. This is my last day at work. The company for which I have worked for 38 years is closing its doors. I feel a deep void within me, and I can hear my inner voice say, Antonio, nobody will hire you again. You're 70 years old. Man, you're old, bald, and ugly. Imagine the sensation of a deep void within you due to a major change in your life. What would you do to overcome that sensation? Would you dwell on it? Would you ask for help? Or would you have a shot of tequila?
Bobby, you're mute.
Yep. Okay, so we know public speaking is not easy, but there are elements that you can quickly master. And once you do, you will effectively drive your message into the minds of your audience. So tonight, Tony Valles, a retired engineer and distinguished Toastmaster, will guide us through his presentation. Tony is a certified world-class speaker coach and will be taking advantage of the training that he received from Craig Valentine, who was the 1999 world champion of public speaking. You'll identify and learn to apply specific guidelines to prepare and deliver speeches, including the use of stories and humor to convey your message more effectively. As a member of the National Speakers Association and a Toastmaster for 25 years, Tony pursues his passion for public speaking. Early in his career, he spent 2 years in Boston, and this will show in his accent. So you'll need to listen closely to make sure you understand. And Tony's also a terrible golfer, and his dream is to shoot his age, but this will have to wait until he reaches 95. Please help me welcome Tony Valles.
Thank you very much, Bobby. It's an honor to be here today. And today you're taking with you 3 tools that will allow you to connect effectively with your audience. And I will introduce those 3 tools, and then we'll go one by one and talk about them and look at applications and see how they can be applied. Please pay attention, and if you don't understand my English, it's okay, you're not alone. But let me know if I'm going too fast and if I should slow down so you can understand me better. And then also, this is an interactive workshop, and I will be asking you questions. Please participate as much as possible. What I would like for you to do is to write down the answer or whatever I ask you on the chat box. And then Bobby will be reading that out loud. And we'll have a session and answer question, and that will be verbal. But for right now, unless you really have to talk, please stay mute. Thank you. So let us proceed then. Let's continue with our story here. We come over here. Okay, The first question that I have for you is those tools. What do you do right now? What are you doing? Imagine that you are in front of an audience and you are connecting wonderfully with them. You have them on the edge of their seats. So what tools are you using? Or if it's easier for you, what tools should you use to connect more effectively with the audience? So please go to the chat box and write at least one of those tools or elements or techniques that you think you should use to connect effectively with the audience.
Tony, I believe you're in presenter mode on the screen share rather than in the slideshow mode, because we're seeing your next slide and the notes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll share again. Thank you for letting me know that.
Sure.
Okay, I thought I had it. I've been practicing. When I practice, I didn't make this mistake. Okay, you should have it now, right?
Yes, we have it now.
Fantastic.
So
Okay.
Mike wants to know, is smiling a technique? And then let's see, Connie, I think, says, I use humor and personal stories, and I put in gestures.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, let's see what I have here. These are the three tools that we're going to be looking at. And what you mentioned is within those tools. So imagine that you're taking with you a toolbox. And in that toolbox, you have three compartments. And each compartment will be one of those tools. But within those compartments, there are sub-elements. If this is a category, then you'll have the subcategories or the sub-elements for that particular tool. Okay, so so what you have said, it's in there. Everything that you said is in there, and we're going to be covering that. What happens here is this. Each one of these tools can be represented with a link in a chain. And when they interact each other, when you use them, all they interact, and that's what produces the connecting force. So that is, you're at one end, and the audience is on another one. So you have that force, that connection force. But there is a risk, and the risk is that any one of those links might break, and it breaks when you have a weak structure or a weak content or a weak delivery. And what happens then? You have a failure to communicate. Do you remember that phrase? And you'll get extra points if you tell me that you remember, if you write in the chat box, where was it? What was the name of the movie of that phrase? Failure to communicate, or the actor as well. Does anybody got it right?
I see A Few Good Men.
No.
Okay.
It's Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand.
Cool Hand Luke with what was the name of the author of the actor? Paul Newman, with Paul Newman. Okay, so what we can have here, if any one of these links break, it's a failure to communicate. They all have to work together, and they all have to be, even if one is weak, but if it doesn't break, then you have connection. The other one might will make up for the other one. But we'll talk more about this as we go along. Okay, assume that you're ready to proceed, that you have mastered these tools, and you're ready to craft your speech. Before you start crafting your speech, there is one thing that you have to do, and that is determine the purpose and the message of the speech. Every speech is a purpose. You have a particular reason for doing it. You have a message that you want to convey. And when you that would be your starting point when you start crafting your speech. How do you determine that purpose of that message? You ask yourself one question: what is the effect on the audience that I want to cause? In other words, what is that I want the audience to feel, think, or do after they hear my message or after they hear my speech? Once you have that, you have a clarity of your message. Now, it it sounds easier than it really is, as most of you would know, because if it's always you're always looking for that message, and sometimes even you think you do it, and then you do your speech, and you know you don't have the right message that you want to convey, and you have to come back to the drawing board. So it's an iterative process. Okay, any questions, just please write them in the chat and I can get back to you or can get back to you at the question and answer session. But it's good if you write them so you don't forget them. Okay, so we're going to start with the structure now. And the structure, it's just imagine that you're building a, a house or a business a building. What you have different components, different uh, boxes that you want to put in that in that building. Okay, so for the species, the same thing. We have different components. You can say that this is the outline, although really this is a more powerful concept, the structure, to talk about the structure of the speech. And we have here these elements, the opening and all the other ones. So we start at the opening. And there is one thing that we need to do to know about the opening. You have only 10 to 30 seconds to make a good impression on the audience, to catch their audience. So you have to open with a bang. And sometimes the speakers, what they do, they start talking about the weather, they start talking, thanking everybody, and talking about unrelated things to their message or to the speech, and they're wasting valuable time. They're talking about unpleasant pleasantries. Don't waste your time like that. Just go into your speech and open with a bang. Now, how do you open with a bang? And this is where I need your participation. What type of things, what type of phrases, or what type of uh, techniques you might have to open with a bang? Write them down on the word on the chat box, please.
We're
What is
getting several: humor or statistic, a question or quote, beginning with a question.
that is exactly right. How did I start my speech? I started with the story. So you also start with the story. If you start with the story right away, then you grab the attention of the audience immediately. So that's a way to do it. A story, a quote, and a statistic started in a statement, and those techniques can be used. And the next thing that we do is the promise and a roadmap. I remember that I gave you a promise. I tell you, you will take with you 3 tools, and you always say the we want. I want to stress the fact that it's always you focus. It's not I will share with you. It's what you will take. So that's why I say you will take with you. Say you focus. And then the roadmap is how am I going to do it? And I told you I'm going to start by giving you an introduction and then go one by one. So I'm going to go point one would be okay. Uh, will be structure, point 2 will be content, and point 3 would be delivery. And here we have the question and answer session, then we have the conclusion. But where are we right now in this structure?
You did your opening, Tony.
Yeah, I did my opening. And then what else did I do?
You did tell us what we were going to get out of this.
Your promise.
Okay. Okay. So where are we now?
Roadmap?
We're in point 1. We're in
point
point 1. The structure. That's point 1. That's here.
Oh, sure.
Okay. So let's continue.
Tony, what was the roadmap then?
The roadmap is how am I going to give you the speech? I said, I will cover structure. I will go one by one and tell you what we're going to do. Now, it's very important that you understand that in a 5 to 7 minute speech, you might only have 1 point. You don't have time for more. And as a guideline, each point takes about 10 minutes to do. So, for a contest speech or for a 5 to 7 minutes, it has to take less than that. So the opening has to be there, definitely, a strong opening, an impactful opening. And then you have the promise, and the roadmap can be combined, or you might not even have one, but you do need to let the audience know, at least give them a hint of what you're going to be talking about. Okay?
Tony, can we include the promise and maybe even the roadmap in our introduction that the Toastmaster does?
That you can do that too. Yeah, you can do that
Okay.
too. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue then. And okay, so we go with content now. That's the second point. And in content is the meat. That's what you came to tell the audience. This is your purpose. Well, this is your main idea of coming, is to give them the content, to tell them something. And in the content, there's a way to do it. We already talked about the message. So everything that you do from here on is going to be related to the message. And this is a formula which is called a parts formula, and it's from Craig Valentine. Okay, it's an acronym. And so we're going to be going through each one of these different elements of the parts formula. The first element is the point of foundational phrase. What is the foundational phrase? It encapsulates the point that you're referring to, or the message. That's what you're doing. And then it must be memorable and rhythmic if possible, and it must be 10 words or less. Now, sometimes it's difficult to do that, but the more succinct it is, the better. What are some of the, do you remember some of the foundational phrases that you have heard or have used? One very popular is, I have a dream. And he goes through the whole speech saying, I have a dream. And if you attended the contest last Friday, I had a foundational phrase in my speech, and I started with it from beginning to end. The foundational phrase allows you, I mean, sometimes it's called the thread of the speech. That's what gives you the flow. And you start with that, then the audience has an idea of where you're taking them. But the foundational phrase that I had in my speech was, accept your pain and take your next step. I don't know if you remember, if you were there. Okay, but that's the foundational phrase. And sometimes, as I say, it might be more than 10 words. It might not be memorable, it might not be rhythmic, but look for something that will carry your speech from the beginning to the end. It can be used also as the takeaway message. Okay, so then the next one is the A for anchor. The anchor is used to ingrain the message of yours of that you're trying to convey into the audience's mind. And there are several anchors that can be used. The one is stories, another is acronyms, analogies, and activities. The the stories is the one that is more frequently used. And the reason for that is that the stories are very are a very powerful tool because you can easily anchor the message with the story. The benefit of the story is that whatever story you have, the audience might relate to it. And if they relate to it, then they're relating to you. They're listening. They are connected to you right away. And when you have the message, make sure that the message relates to the, or the story relates to this to the message. If the story doesn't relate to the message, then you're going to lose it. So what is loose is lost. It doesn't. If it doesn't relate, then it's lost. You have to make sure of that. It's like telling a joke that doesn't relate to the speech. The audience gets confused. The same thing happens here. If you have a story that doesn't relate if, to the message, then they get confused and it's lost, and you lose. You have the failure to communicate. When you tell a story, also it allows itself to become a hook. And how does it become a hook? When you have a conflict. So identify the conflict as soon as possible, and that will allow you to hook the audience. When you hook the audience, they're going to stay with you immediately because they're curious to see how you are going to resolve your problem or the conflict that has come up. Okay, oops. The, when you talk about the stories, relive them, relive your stories, and that'll come alive. Make as if it's happening in present time, like it's happening to you at the moment that you're giving the speech. And what happens? How do you do that? You use VAX. VAX is it's a good technique. It's a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic and smell. Okay, going back to my speech again. I open the speech by saying, imagine that you are lying on the beach, listening to the soothing sounds of the sea waves. So when I did that, I immediately created a visual because I said imagine, so you immediately start seeing the beach or imagining or remembering a time that you were at the beach. Auditory, I used the sounds of the sea waves. And kinesthetic, because you were remembering when you were there and you felt good about it. So that's the beauty of the VAX. You use the VAX, you immediately relive your story and you take your audience to that point. So remember the VAX. Okay, the next one is the reflection, the R for reflection. And here we're talking about engaging with the audience. And to engage with the audience, you ask them reflective questions and then you pause. You let them answer in their mind whatever question you asked. And you don't talk for a while, you pause and you let them answer to what they have there. It's the same thing as a laugh, and we'll see that later. Okay, the T is basically technique, and this is an activity or an exercise that you ask them to do after the speech is over and they go home. So basically, that's the technique, and they will forget everything immediately. I mean, within a few days. But if you have the anchor, if you have the reflection, if you have the technique will help them go back to whatever they learned and apply the concepts. So that's the technique is beyond it's in addition to the takeaway message. And the last S is the sale. And here it is very important that, well, before we do that, I'm going to go back. I forgot about an exercise here. Please write in your chat if you are in sales. You say yes or no if you are in sales. Yes or no? Okay, you can tell me later, Bobby.
Okay, I see all yeses except 2 nos.
Okay, well, we'll deal with that in a few minutes. Okay,
Okay,
on the sale, you're selling the results. You base your story that you're going to tell, or your whatever you're going to be formulating to tell them about your product or your message. You're going to base it on the results that you have obtained. And what sells is results. Sometimes you don't even have to see the product if you see the results. I Craig Valentine was telling us one time that he was talking about a method or a program that he sold, and he didn't even told the audience what was inside that that program that he had. It was a program, but the way he sold it on the results of, because he showed himself how he had done in the last 10 years and how he had come to that point. So it's these results that sell, and it must be you focus. This is the benefit for them. So you sell something and you say, so that you attain this. That is the you focus. Okay, a public speaker sells. So if you're in sales, if you're a public speaker, you sell. And if you are if you are in sales, I mean, if you responded no, then I don't want to believe that you don't want to be a public speaker. You are a public speaker whether you want to or not, if you're in sales. It was a tricky question, but I wanted to give it to you just to make sure that you understand that you're always selling. The moment you get up and say something, whether it is an informative speech or whether it's an inspirational speech, you're selling your message or you're selling the information that you have there. A way a template that can be used to sell is the then, now, and how. So assume that you are selling a product, and that product is a cosmetic product. So you take pictures of you when you went of your face, maybe, this is a cosmetic product. So you show pictures of your face, of how you were, and then you show pictures of the now, of how beautiful or handsome you have become, and then you tell them how it happened, and the how is using the product or whatever. So it's the then, now, and how. That's what this template is known as, and it's very extensively used. Okay, so we are now in humor. And why do people laugh? What makes them laugh? They laugh when they feel, when you have successfully tricked their mind. It's like a train. It's like a setup. You do a setup, then you do a punchline. And the punchline is totally different from what they expected. It's like a train analogy. They expect some, I mean, if you watch a train, it's going in the rails, but if it derails, you don't expect it to derail. That's the same thing that you do whenever you make the audience laugh. You successfully trick their mind. The power of three, the first two are the items that are used as the setup, and the third one is the punchline. And if you remember, I purposely left the in the speech when I said, imagine that you have a deep void within you. And then I asked, what do you do to overcome that sensation? And I say, would you dwell on it? Would you ask for help? Those are the two setups. So I set everybody up. And then the third one, you remember what the third one was? Would you have a shot of tequila? Nobody expected that. So you set up. Now, the power of three is also good, not only for humor, but also, as you know, for the triplet. When you use the triplet, every time you have something, is the audience will remember more when you use triplets than if you go to four or more. Okay, and it's better to use personal stories, anecdotes that you've had in your life that creates an emotional connection, and then make sure that whatever humor you have, it relates to the message. Don't add humor, uncover it. We, as speakers, we are not comedians. We use humor to convey our message. Comedians use humor for the purpose of making people laugh. We don't want to make people laugh. Our purpose is to when they laugh, it's easier for them to accept that message. That is why the humor, whatever humor you have, it has to relate to it has to be there, built into the speech, and then look for it there. It's there. Okay. So the next thing here is that the height of the audience attention is after the laughter. And at that point, after they laugh, don't step on their laughter. That's what I was saying when they're thinking. When you ask a reflective word, don't step on their thinking. And when they're laughing, don't step on their laughter. Just let them laugh. And after, just be quiet. And then after that, then make your point after they laugh. Okay. So now we're ready for a small break here. Oh, wow. It's 34:27. We're not going as fast as we want. Should we continue?
That's fine with me. I think, we're a small group. I think we can keep going.
Okay. Okay. Everybody is fine. So just relax a little bit before I before I continue. Take a small break, and then let's continue then. Well, okay. Since we're talking about coffee, you can do a deep breath and exhale. Okay, let's do this. And we're talking about coffee break. How do you like your coffee, Bobby?
I like mine hot and black.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I'm sure if they deliver it to you, not what you want, what do you do with it?
I'm sorry, say that again.
If they don't meet your demands on the coffee, what do you do when they serve you the coffee?
You mean if it's not hot or it's not black?
Right.
I'll send it back.
You send it back. Okay, good. My sister doesn't like coffee cold. I mean, she wants it hot. She wants to burn her tongue, and if you don't give her a hot coffee, she'll throw it at you. So, Okay, I'm just kidding. She never does that, but she wants to do it anyway. Okay, this is the story here. When you assume that the coffee is the content of your speech, and the cup is the structure of your speech. It's being held here, and the delivery is when the server brings the coffee. Okay, so that's the idea. What happens here is that if it fails, then the whole process fails. If the delivery fails, then you have failure to communicate. And the reason I bring this up is because to me, delivery is the most important tool in the that's to me. I mean, I don't know if you agree. This is just an opinion. And the reason I believe that is because you can make up with the delivery if you have a poor structure or a poor content, a poor content. You can make up with if you have a very good delivery. But if you, I mean, if it fails, totally fails, if the link breaks, then you have failure to communicate, regardless whether you have a good delivery or not. But if you have but it's easier for the delivery to make up for the structure and the content than it is for the content to make up for the good delivery. If you have a poor delivery, you lose. You have the failure to communicate right away. Okay, so we're going to be talking about delivery. And delivery has three components: verbal language, body language, and control of fear. Actually, it's only these two. I add this because to me, fear is also very, very important. I mean, if you get distracted for any reason, if you fail, if you're afraid of failing, then you have to control somehow your fear. So let's talk about the verbal language first. And this, the vocal variety. We talk about that all the time: the rate, the volume, and the pitch. When we uh, just speak at a single rate, single volume, single pitch, it's very monotonous, and we can't communicate. We don't give a good delivery. So we have to vary. We have to have vocal variety. Okay, and this is it's a widely known fact about the vocal variety. The voice, of course, it has to be clear. You have to enunciate, and you have to do it in a conversational style. When you do that, then you are able to communicate well. And the pauses, of course, the pauses. We need no verbal fillers, the ums and the ahs and whatever distractions we might have. That's distracting. So avoid those, and then give time to reflect. When you ask a question, again, stop, let just assume. The best way to do this is, you can count up to 10 and then keep on talking when you ask a question. But another technique is you answer your question yourself in your mind. When you finish answering the question, then keep on talking. Okay.
Tony, we have a question in the chat. What would be the best to verify the vocal variety? And this is from Maria.
What would be best to verify the vocal variety? Okay, when you are practicing, listen to you. You can record yourself, or you can videotape yourself and listen to yourself. And that's the only way that I can tell you. You have to vary the volume. That's easy to understand. You have to vary the rate, talk faster or slower, or in the pitch. That also, you can vary the pitch. Talk at different frequencies, like approach the women's pitch. Like when it's so hard to imitate a lady when we're speaking the pitch, but sometimes it's necessary. Now, when you have a character and you have a character that is a female and you want to do that voice, it's very dangerous because it can sound at a very high pitch and it might be understood as if you're making fun of her. So that's why it's so important that when you do it, be tactful about that.
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
And Tony, we also have a comment from Cynthia. She says that she finds using the recorder on the phone the best tool for hearing herself.
Oh, she finds to using the what?
The recorder on a phone.
Uh-huh.
Cynthia, did you want to elaborate on that?
Certainly, Bobby. I find that when I use my cell phone voice recorder to tape myself, if I put the phone at least 12 to 24 inches away and then deliver my speech with the recorder on and then go back and play it back, I have a better idea of how I sound and where the inflections are and where
Right,
I need to practice more.
right. Yeah, yeah. It's a very good point. Very good point. Yeah. Thank you, Cynthia, for bringing that up. Okay, so let's continue then. The next here is the body language. So here we have these different components for body language. The first one is the head nod. So when you ask a question, if you want to agree with the answer, even though they are not responding verbally, you know what they're going to answer. So you just nod your head, just to establish that communication with the audience. And then the eye contact, well, you know, it's a it's a challenge here in the virtual background, but keep your eyes in the camera as much as possible. If you are in a live situation, you know that you have to scan the audience from left to right and then from top to down to the bottom. I mean, from the back to the front. Uh, so that's easier to do than here. Here, you just look at the camera. There is no other option. And the facial expressions, make sure that your facial expressions are congruent with your emotions. If you're happy, make a happy face. If you're sad or frustrated, you know, frustrate yourself. One thing that Patricia Fripp says, and I'm sure that all of you know who Patricia Fripp says, is show me, don't tell me. So sometimes just by showing your expression, you're conveying your emotion, and you don't even have to say anything. So that's a very powerful statement. A smile is a very powerful tool. So smile again, you have to be congruent. Smile when it is appropriate to smile. Sometimes if you're sad, you are not going to smile. And the gestures, well, make sure that your home of the gestures is here on your size, and then you gesture from here. Don't do this at all. And if possible, don't do this. This is very difficult. You know, I struggle with this. I keep my hands here in the front all the time, but really the proper way to do it is to be here and gesture from here. And then the use of the stage. It's a challenge to use your stage virtually, but there's a guideline that you can use, and which is what I use. If you want to use the stage as a timeline, the past is on the audience's left, on the speaker's right, and the present would be on your, or the future would be on the speaker's right, on the no, on the audience's right, on the speaker's left. So you know, if you like what I did with my speech, i I started in the present at the very far left, my left, and then I went all the way to the past, all the way to my right. and then I moved from there, anchoring the different points. Now, if you anchor spots on the stage, the beauty of that is that you can refer to those points and just point at them, and the audience will remember what happened there. Now, be very careful not to step over your spots that you have anchored, because if you do that, then it's difficult. The other thing is also, you establish like a hologram on the stage, and when you want to get out of the story that you're telling, move away from it, either to the back. In this case, it's easier for me to move to the front and connect with the audience, and then walk back to the story, to your hologram. Okay, so that's the
Okay.
the delivery body language.
Tony, we have a couple of comments and questions. So a smile is a strong contact with others, but Maria's father used to say, don't show the teeth. How much of that expression is right? And Mike disagrees. So what's your opinion?
My opinion is that you smile. A smile, I don't show my teeth because I have a problem. So when I smile, nobody sees my teeth.
Yeah, look, Maria has a beautiful smile. Maybe her father had horrible teeth, I mean, it's like, right? It's okay. Everyone
okay.
should just smile naturally.
You smile the way you smile. You're being honest, you're being sincere, and the audience is what's taking it. It's taking your smile. You're communicating with them, you're engaging with them. Whichever way you want to smile, just make sure that it's congruent with your emotion.
And Tony, I have a question also. You mentioned when you're using the stage not to step over your anchors. I'm not quite clear what you meant by stepping over. What do you mean?
Okay. Let's suppose that works more for the live audience when you're doing a presentation on live. Well, let's suppose this is a classical thing. You have, let's say that you're talking about how do you call it? A coffin. That you're talking about a coffin, and you say he was here, and I had to cry, and you cry in front of the coffin, and the coffin is here, and then all of a sudden you step on it.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
So if it's there, it's there, and they want to notice that you're stepping over the anchor that you had. Same thing with characters. So don't put your here in virtual. Don't put your characters next to you, because you're going to move and you're going to step over them. So put them outside. You just point outside. Right. That's what I do. Whether that is there might be other things, but that's what I've been doing. I put my characters outside of the frame, and I stay over here. And when I imitate when I get my characters talking, then I just become the character where I am. Okay.
All right. I hadn't thought about that. So it's almost like pretending that what you're anchoring is physically there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so let's see now the control of your fear. We are not really afraid of the audience. Few people are afraid of the audience. What we are afraid of is of what they will think about us if we fail. That's the fear. That's the actual fear. So if that is the case, then prepare not to fail. And what is the best way to prepare not to fail? Practice 1,000 times if it's needed. But practice, especially if you're memorizing your speech, which is what I do. Make sure that you have to do it many times. And one of the ideas that I've heard is to practice it and go do it fast, in a fast way. You say it as fast as you, well, not as fast as you can, but faster than you would say it. If you want to say it as fast as you can, I mean, it might not work because you're going to be stumbling. So just practice faster than you would deliver it, and then once you have it, then use it. Go with your speed that you need to go. So that's practice, 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 and then have a positive attitude, visualize success, and ask yourself this question: how would I give this presentation if I knew it was going to be my last one? Eh, so this is basically empowering you to do your best. Okay. During the event, focus on the audience. The audience doesn't care who you are. There is a very, very beautiful quote from Zig Ziglar that says, People don't care who you are unless they know that you care for them." So they don't care who you are. They just care on what you're going to be doing for them. And we're worried about ourselves, about failing, about not sounding good. Just focus on the audience, on what you're going to be giving them, on what you're going to be doing for them. And that will control your fear. Your fear will never go away. Positive attitude always. And just remember that you're going to fail. Eventually, you will fail. That's, it happens to all of us. So use humor. In my case, what I say, I'm getting too old. Sorry. Use humor and get out of that. Okay. Now is a question and answer session. So I'll walk away I'll end the show for right now. And
Okay.
we can.
We have a couple more comments in the chat here. Maria says, I found that fear is not really with the audience. That fear is coming from ourselves, and it's the result of an interior challenge to jump. And then I'm not sure the first name is, Churchill was supposed to have practiced much.
Okay.
I believe that.
What is the question?
It wasn't really a question, more like comments. And Tony, you're still sharing your screen. So if you wanted to.
Oh, I'm still sharing. Okay, stop. Okay, I'm
There you
sorry.
go.
Okay, good. Maria, the fear is
Oh,
coming from-
did you want us to unmute, Tony?
Yes, please. You can unmute and then ask me, and then just repeat the question, Bobby.
Okay. I don't see any more questions in the chat right this second, but maybe people have.
Okay. Okay, so if that is the case, then we ask the questions. You ask the question, Bobby.
Okay, just 1 minute here. I'm gonna go, did you want me to upload that file? Or do that
Yes,
at the end?
Yes, you can upload it now.
Okay,
But, or just start talking and then you can upload it later.
okay. So let's see. So some of I guess the main question is, what's a couple of keepers that you've gotten from this presentation by Tony? And maybe you can type in the chat.
Yes, just type them in the chat. Yes, I forgot to ask that, Bobby. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, Tony and I talked in advance. Ooh.
What?
I said we spoke earlier today, so I was kind of expecting. Oh, I guess I have to retry on uploading the file. For some reason, it didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I just noticed it's 7:30. So let's do this. Go ahead and upload the file, and then if anybody wants to stay afterwards, then you can talk to them about this and review it. Is that okay?
So yes, and I'm actually getting an error in trying to upload. it's saying that I have a network disconnect. So what I'll do is send out this file to everyone by email right after this session.
Okay, yeah, okay. And then you can go over it after the file.
Sure.
Any keepers? What are you taking? Tell me at least one thing that you're taking from this presentation.
So I see from our Amavis is opening, promise, and roadmap.
Okay.
Let's see. Another one is to make sure the structure, the speech for the core components. Warren says, I must practice more. I'm with you, Warren. And
Okay.
for me, Tony, I hadn't heard that not stepping on your anchors before.
Right,
That's-
right, yeah.
But
Okay.
it makes sense.
Good, good. I'm glad that's good for you. Okay, so the one thing that I forgot was about the stories. The stories is a very powerful tool, and we didn't cover much because we don't have time. But there are books and so many authors about storytelling, and I do webinars for storytelling. I gave one, Bobby attended it. These webinars are 90, they're workshops actually. They're 92 sessions of 90 minutes. And we'll probably be doing a mini session of storytelling here later, a speech at Showtime. But we'll talk more about that. But if you can use stories all the time. Stories are a powerful tool. One of the champions of public speaking said, use a story, make a point. Use a story, make a point.
Okay.
So let's continue then.
Well, Tony, we're at the end of our hour.
Okay.
So did you want to keep going, or if
I just want to conclude, if that's okay.
Sure, okay.
It'll take me about 5 more minutes. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay, good. Share screen. Questions. Share. And then we're going to do slideshow. Slideshow from beginning. Okay. Oops. No, I made a mistake. Well, we'll go all the way down. It's easier. Oops. Okay. Slideshow from here. Okay. Okay. So this is what's going to happen then. You're taking three tools with you. You spend here a lot of time. I mean, at least 60 seconds. 3,660, right? Yeah, seconds. 3,600 seconds. Okay, that's what you spend here. So make them valuable. The way to do this is for you to use these tools as soon as possible on your next speech. Use them. That is the technique. That is the assignment that you have. It has been a pleasure being with you here. And if you need anything, I'm going to put my contact information in the chat box, and you can contact me anytime. I love to help speakers. I'm in 5 clubs, and I have mentors. I have mentees in each club, and I love to help them. So I love to help you to become a better speaker, or to any type of complication that you have with using these tools. I'll be happy to help you, and I'll get my information on the chat. And so, yes.
I was able to load the keepers document in the chat as well.
Okay, great. So you can take those keepers as well, and then those those keepers are basically they are not everything that I said, but those are the ones that I consider the most important for you to remember. Okay, so take these tools with you, and may the connecting force be with you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. That was fantastic.
And
I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it. So if you want to stay a few more minutes, I have to leave. I'm going to another to another event. It was a conflict, and I had to go there right now. I'm already late. But anyway,
Okay.
let me just put my chat here.
And, let me just say also that this recording will be available on Showtime's YouTube channel. We normally post at 12:15 in the morning on Fridays. So if you want to have a replay, and I will stop the recording now.
Okay, great.